And last week I had to catch up with somebody, with a colleague, so I gave him a call. And it was in the middle of the day. And from the second he picked up the phone, I could tell something was wrong. He said, "You'll have to forgive me. We just had the vet come to our house, and now my Buddy is gone." Buddy was my colleague's 9-year-old dog that had just been euthanized at the house. He had suffered through cancer that had spread everywhere in the last several months. And suddenly my colleague felt a profound sense of loss. I told him how sorry I was. He said to me, "I feel so bad right now, but just wait till 10 o'clock tonight." When every night at that time, Buddy and I had an ice cream party together. And now he's not here. He's not here. I wanted to say something consoling, that he and Buddy would be together again, because I believe our pets go to heaven. But at that moment, he just needed to grieve his loss. Think about it. What is it we lose when a pet dies that makes it so difficult? By the way, and this include all pets, not just dogs and cats, but horses, birds, fish, reptiles. Well, so what is it? What is it that we lose when a pet dies? The answer exists in one word: relationship. Relationship. People who live with and who come to love animals know exactly what I'm talking about. And even though long-standing dogma in Christian churches and conservative Christian churches says that what makes humans different is that we have souls and animals do not, I take issue with that because of the relationship that I've had with animals. Second of all, the very name we give to all these creatures, animals, comes from the Latin word anima, or soul. Soul. Live with an animal long enough and you'll know that they are able to communicate to you without words about their closeness with you. The supposed human who's supposed to be of superior intelligence. Dr. Brian Jones is a retired professor of religion, and he kind of shares my thoughts about the topic. And he says, people who live closely with non-human animals of all kinds, not just dogs and cats, but horses, cows, sheep, goats, birds, etc., know them as, and he says, I don't really have a good word here, but they know them as persons. Not as people, but as persons. Not as human persons, but as personal, relational beings. Personal, relational beings. And they are relational. We form relationships with them. We call them our companions. We depend on them for comfort and protection. We give them gifts, and they give back to us affection, devotion, and help of various kinds. We even have conversations with our animals, even extended conversations if you live alone. And in my house, I talk all day to my dog. And they speak without words, but they speak nevertheless, and we talk to them. Animals can share their opinions with us humans, too. My first cat, Boo, could really damage my ego sometimes. We had a habit of sharing a little bit of whatever we were eating with Boo, and one evening when I had made my special chili for Gary, Boo was sitting alongside us at the kitchen table, so we gave him a little bowl of the chili, my special chili. He sniffed it, he looked at me, and promptly started to bury it. You can't have an eagle around a cat. Whether or not you have ever had such a relationship with an animal, we do all agree that we exist because God breathed us into existence, the breath of God. That we are vessels for carrying on that astounding breath of life to our children. Ask anyone who has become a parent about that very first moment that you held your first child. It absolutely changes the meaning of everything else in your life. The breath of God animating all of creation, your part in creation. But what about the animals? Does the Bible have anything to say about them, whether paradise might be open to them too? After all, God made clear that God made a covenant with humanity. So the covenant we find in the Bible story about Noah and the flood is one we need to pay attention to answer this question. Dr. Jones answered the question this way. So what is the purpose of this first covenant God makes? At the center, of course, is the promise not to flood the earth again. What I find remarkable about this covenant is that God announces very clearly, you can see this in the Bible, that it is not between God and humans alone, but between God and all living flesh, between God, humans, and every living creature. We find it in Genesis, by the way, if you want to look it up, where Jesus says, I now establish my covenant with you and with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the livestock, and all the animals, all those that came out of the ark with you. Every living creature on earth, I establish my covenant with you. Never again will all life be destroyed by the waters of a flood. Never again will there be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, this is a sign of the covenant I'm making between me and you and every living creature, a covenant for all generations to come. I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. And whenever the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and all living creatures of every kind of earth. This is not the only place, by the way, where animals are included in the Bible. Psalm 104 recognizes what a blessing animals are to God and to us as well. In part it goes, how many are your works, O Lord, and in wisdom you made them all. The earth is full of your creatures. There is the sea, vast and spacious, teeming with creatures beyond number, living things large and small. All creatures look to you to give them their food at the proper time. And when you give it to them, they gather it up. When you open your hand, they are satisfied with good things. When you send your spirit, they are created, and you renew the face of the ground. But we still have the question before us. Do our pets go to heaven? Does God redeem us all, human and creature, and take us to paradise if we're good? Do animals even belong in paradise? Well, first things first. Think about the story of that first paradise, the Garden of Eden. The story says it was teeming with animals, and God told the first humans that they were to be stewards of them and of the earth. Why wouldn't the next paradise, which we hope to return to, be this way too? Well, if people won't believe Dr. Jones or me, maybe they'll believe Billy Graham. He said, God will prepare for our perfect happiness in heaven. And if it takes my dog to be there, I believe he'll be there. When you think about it, why wouldn't our pets go to heaven? Reverend Jill Kishner points out that for all their devotion, their willingness to console us and love us even when we're not very lovable, animals bring heaven to us on earth. Some of us, even though we always miss the presence of our companions, have had experiences that make us think that our pets may still drop in on occasions to visit us. There's that subtle feeling. If you had a cat, you've gone through this. A cat maybe lost a couple of cats. There's that subtle feeling that a cat owner will experience when we feel an unseen set of paws jump up on the bed and walk across the bed. There's no explaining this kind of thing. It just is. Now, our first fluffy white American Eskimo dog was called Magic. You can see why, where the name came from. From the time she was a pup, she was gregarious, she loved everyone, she kissed everyone, greeted everyone, and always had a thing or two to say when she wanted something. She liked to communicate. She was very smart and went everywhere with us. But one morning, when she was 14, she went from being healthy to being unable to stand. She had contracted Lyme disease and ehrlichiosis together. In the space of one day, she permanently lost all of her hearing. And oddly enough, once she couldn't hear, it appears she assumed that we couldn't hear either, so she stopped barking. But then she came up with a way to let me know when she needed my attention. You know, when I'm home, usually I'm barefoot. So Magic developed this system. If she would come over to me and step on the top of my foot as hard as she could, to feel this paw pressing. You get 40 pounds of dog on one foot. And that would let me know that she was there and that she needed something. It was unmistakable. Until she died at age 16, this is the way we communicated for the next 2 years. We took her death very hard. Magic was extraordinary and irreplaceable, as all our pets are, really. I didn't even want to think about getting another dog because I was still hurting. A grieving Gary kept going to pet stores and looking at Eskimo puppies. About 3 weeks after we lost Magic, Gary came home and told me he had met a very special Eskimo puppy, and he wanted me to see that puppy. I reluctantly went to the pet store and met this special little girl. I could tell this might be the one for us, but I was still loyal to the memory of my Magic. That evening I went home and sat at my computer table. And after a while in sadness, I said out loud, Magic, if you're around and you can hear me, I need to know if it would be okay to bring a puppy into the house. I need you to give me a sign if you approve. Then I went back to work on the computer. Suddenly, 10 minutes later, there was the unmistakable feeling of a paw pressing down hard on the top of my instep. It startled me so much, I turned around and bent down, expecting to see a dog, but there wasn't anything there. I didn't know what to do. I said, Magic, if that was you, I need you to do it again. 5 minutes later, there was the unmistakable feeling of a dog's paw pressing with all her might. I started to cry grateful tears because I knew then that the ones we love do stick around for us. The puppy came home with us the next week. The wonderful vet James Herriot said, if a soul means being able to love and loyalty and to feel love and loyalty and gratitude, then animals are better off than a lot of us humans. God bless you all this week. Amen. I bid you blessings. I bid you a week filled with people who love you and who you love back in return. May you be a better human for the animals that you've known in your life. May you also be a better human that understands the needs of people whose lives we celebrate this week, of Native Americans, of the Hispanic community, and of the people who came to this continent looking for hope, a place to worship, a place for peace. We haven't quite made that goal yet, but with your help, with your compassion, and your loyalty, we can do that. May God bless you and keep you all this week. May God shine God's face upon you and give you peace and love and the knowledge that God is with you always. Amen.